Welcome everybody to the 2015 Canadian National Championships. My name is Tim Baghurst and you are watching a men's singles quarterfinal between 4 Castro and 5 Landeryou. Landeryou is James Landeryou, brother of Tim Landeryou. Both of them are in this tournament. That should be an avoidable hinder. Landeryou doesn't like it, but correct call there. Beautiful forehand pinch, Castro. Side out. Castro looks at the door. Suddenly it's all square, 1 serving 1. Cagey start to this match. Castro plunges to the left, doesn't get it. Two serving 1. Three serving 1 is the score. Second serve coming up. Soft hands from James Landeryou. Castro wanted a carry. He's not going to get it. Well, if you're just joining us, welcome. This is the 2018 Canadian National Championships, men's quarterfinal, 4th seed versus 5 seed. Should be a close one. That was a tough shot from Castro, running around to hit that overhead on his forehand side. Don't try that at home. Very difficult to execute. Landeryou playing very smart right now. 4 serving 1. Replay, he could have got it, says our head official, Cal Smith. You can make up your own decisions, your own minds at home or wherever you're watching. Speaking of watching, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate those of you sharing the feed on to your groups and pages. Oh my goodness. A little lucky maybe, Castro. And I'm joined once again by the silky smooth voice of Mitch Braley. Mitch, thanks so much for joining us again today.
Thanks, Tim. Good to be here.
1 serving 4. We started the match just a few minutes before the scheduled 2 p.m. 4th seed versus 5 seed. What can we expect in this match?
You know, these two have gone back and forth the last couple of seasons. They both have fantastic hands up front, so there's going to be a lot of fancy shots, fantastic shot making. You have Pedro, who likes to play a very high tempo, aggressive game, whereas James likes to play a little bit of slower game. He can definitely play at that high pace, but likes to slow the game down, hit some good lob serves, control the pace. So they've always gone neck and neck, so it should be a real tight match here. Wouldn't be surprised if we even saw a tiebreaker in this quarterfinal.
So these two have played each other a lot.
They have. I was trying to look back at their history. I believe Pedro got the last one less than 2 years ago, but I mean, they probably are, 50-50 split the last 3-4 years.
Tries to go between the legs. Ill advised. 4 serving 3. We haven't seen James Landeryou in the international scene. We've seen his brother Tim, but he's clearly a quality player.
Yeah, James is one of those players that's always, had a lot of success at the Canadian events. Obviously, a very good player. I think he's actually beaten his brother Tim Landeryou before in prior nationals. I just don't think he's had the consistency that his brother has to give him enough points in tournaments to qualify for the Canadian team to make the international scene. But he's definitely a fantastic player and could easily play with some of the best in the world.
Castro wasn't happy with that replay call. You could see it as he walked back. It's important to keep your composure in these. These are big moments.
Really big, and I mean they're used to playing in these quarterfinals, these high-pressure matches, having calls go against them. So they've learned to let these calls go, keep their composure, and just stay tough and focus on the racquetball and the game at hand.
Well, you say keep your composure, but there was a broken ball where Castro just went down the line. Landeryou gets a little bit of luck because he gets to serve again as a replay. It's important. Castro's had 2 calls that have gone against him. One was the replay, and one was a broken ball.
And he's a fiery player. I mean, he likes that argument with the ref. He likes that discussion. As part of his game is to slow it down, take away momentum, get in chats with the referee. So it does work in his favor sometimes, but I think there are times where it does work against him, where he loses his focus and focuses too much on the referee and not the actual match being played.
Interesting that Landeryou drove serve on his second serve.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he has a solid drive serve. It's not something that he's known for, is his power, his drive serve. So I'm not sure what the game plan is coming in against Castro. Maybe he wants to keep the pace up, keep it at tempo. When there's been times before where it's talked about how Castro's conditioning does come into play in long matches. So maybe he wants to wear that out in this first game here early and hopefully bring out some mistakes in Castro's game.
was a bit scrappy, but it was Landeryou who showed a little bit of class at the end.
Yeah, good set of hands to bring that ball down and finish off that rally.
Ball bounces and goes above the 12-foot line, so it'll be a replay. Very humid here in Winnipeg, Manitoba today in these courts.
It is. I think we're going to see a lot of wet ball calls on the serve, a lot of time for towel timeouts to clean those floors off. Frustrating sometimes as a fan to watch, but it is for the safety of the players, so it is important they keep those courts clean and make sure they're not slipping, especially in these long rallies they get into.
Side out. Second serve, drive serve was short.
Don't think I've ever seen anything like that from Landeryou before. To serve two drive serves from him is very uncharacteristic. He's got really good lob serves, really good control, so I'm not sure what the intent is behind that.
Well, Castro went for the jam, and Landeryou, you can see how long he is, just turned his body and ripped it to the front wall. Another side out, 5-serving-3. So put yourself in Castro's position. He's down 3-5. Landeryou is a tricky player. He doesn't make many mistakes. Able to pick up a lot of balls because he's fairly tall. How do you beat somebody like that?
I think the key for Castro is he's got a lot of power. He has to stick with that really solid drive serve that he does have. I think he has to really pick on that right side, that forehand of James Landeryou. That is the weaker side, usually on a consistent basis, so he's got to keep the pace high, pick on that right side, and he can't let James shoot from up front. His hands are too good. He's going to lose that rally 9 times out of 10 if he gives James anything in front of that service box there.
5, serves 3.
Uncharacteristic skip from Landeryou. A reminder that these players had doubles for 3 days before switching into the singles. Maybe a little wear and tear on the body after 4 days of competition.
There is for sure. I mean, both these players played some, 3 really tough doubles matches, so you see it in their arms. They start to fatigue a bit. They really have to make sure that their conditioning is spot on. They're taking care of themselves throughout the tournament here, and we already had 1 day of singles, so they've playing a lot of ball here, and it's important that they're maintaining themselves and focusing, because can't take it for granted that their bodies are going to be 100% match in, match out.
Little fist pump from Castro, gets an ace serve down the right side. Yeah, you mentioned the conditioning. It's a little bit different to your traditional weekend tournament where you're playing 3 or 4 matches a day and just kind of going on adrenaline. It's a bit of a grind.
It is. I mean, we only have 1 match a day here, which isn't a lot when you look at it, but it's important you're warming up with, before your matches. You're ready to go as soon as you step on that court. And even afterwards, the cool down, a lot of players don't realize the importance of a good stretch, a good cool down session that really helps you feel a lot better, the next day going into your match. So all these top players, they cool down effectively. They're icing their arms, they're stretching, they're rolling, they're doing everything they can to get a little bit of advantage and feel as good as they can every single match they play.
It also highlights the importance of having a good seed so that you have some easy matches to start with. Castro did extremely well there to recover from that jam serve.
He's got a great set of hands. He's very quick. It's really tough to jam him because he's just so quick at pulling that ball through and getting a ton of power.
Great serve, Castro. You mentioned the importance of that drive serve in this match.
That's where a lot of players have seen success with James Landeryou before, is that bringing that power and that heat makes them uncomfortable.
That was a little loose from Castro over on the right side, punished by James Landeryou. Almost 15 minutes into this match, over 15 minutes into this match, and it's only 5-5.
Exactly what I've expected. These two have always had close matches, usually a tiebreaker to decide who's going to be the winner, so I think we can expect this for the duration of the match.
Castro a little clean of his eyewear. I do find it interesting that players who, both of these players get very warm, sweat a lot, change shirts throughout the match. It does surprise me they don't wear any kind of headwear to stop that perspiration coming down into their faces.
I think a lot of the top players, it's not something that's common, is headbands, which, usually it's okay, but these courts are very humid, a lot of sweat out there, so it might even be just as a strategic thing, just to keep your momentum and not have to be constantly cleaning your glasses, wiping off your face, have a headband out there.
Another skip from Landeryou. We haven't seen so many of those this week. He's played pretty clean. There's another skip. Now, wet ball's only called during a serve in Canadian rules, and so there's clearly some wet ball issues in this match. Oh my goodness, did you see that? What a boast from Castro. Hits it against the left side wall. It goes across to the right side wall, dies on the front wall. 7-5. Looks like timeout Castro. Interesting time to take a timeout when you've won the last couple points.
A little surprised. Usually when you see a player take a timeout, this level especially, it's maybe they've dropped a few points, given them away, and they've got back in the service box to get their composure. But he has had a nice run here, a couple of good serves, some good shots. That was a fantastic last shot he hit. So you'd almost think that the momentum will be working in Landeryou's favor for him to take that timeout. But I'm sure he has some solid rationale behind it. He's very well coached, so we'll see how he responds when he comes back in here after his 1 minute timeout.
You are watching Castro, the number 4 seed, against Landeryou, the number 5 seed. The winner will advance to the semifinals tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central. They will take on the winner of Samuel Murray, the 1 seed, against 8 seed Curtis Cullen. Should be a great match this afternoon. We'll have it for you.
Looking forward. All these quarterfinals are, some of the top players in this country, so they're going to be really tight, some fantastic racquetball, and I'm looking forward to all of them.
Lots of athleticism on display this afternoon. Tim Landeryou, brother of James, will be facing Nicolas Bousquet, a young player with lots of potential, and he's starting to realize it, and we'll see how he does against the more experienced Landeryou. And then rounding out this quarterfinals will be Lee Connell, who defeated Trevor Webb yesterday, 15-12, 15-7. He'll be taking on the number 2 seed, Kobe Iwasa, and I think Iwasa will be the heavy favorite in that match.
Yeah, just because of their seedings, they played each other at a lot of selection events and nationals in the past. Kobe Iwasa, I think he has the winning record. I don't know what that is exactly, but he's played very well in those matches against Lee Connell, and definitely expected to win that one, but you never know. Lee Connell's had a great tournament. He played tough against Webb yesterday, so it should be an interesting quarterfinal to say the least.
That was a loose serve from Castro. Landeryou didn't do very much with it. Another point for Castro. Remember that Landeryou led 5-3. Suddenly we've got an 8-5 favor for the 4th seed. 5 points in a row. Very expressive Castro, as you can see.
He's probably one of the more animated players in this tournament. He has no problems voicing his opinion, showing that he's frustrated, fist pumping when he hits a great shot. So he's a lot of fun to watch.
Smart shot down the right side. 6 serving 8.
Am I okay here?
Second serve.
This time it's Landeryou. He's emotional after that and skip. He's hit several in this first game. We mentioned how clean he played in doubles. You just wonder whether this intensity is starting to wear.
I think it's definitely going to be a factor. I mean, he's, especially we talked about Castro having to drive serve, keep that pace high, and really bring it to him and hopefully make conditioning an issue with him. So it'll be interesting to see how many errors he has as the match progresses and gets tight.
There's a skip from Castro.
6 serves 9.
Wow, unconventional. You saw how he pulled up on that shot. I was waiting for down the line.
I mean, that's the thing about Castro. He doesn't need a lot of room to generate a ton of power and hit a great shot. He's got really strong wrists that he comes through with so quickly.
Doesn't like the call of short from our head official, Cal Smith, standing over to our right.
Go, Jamie, come on. I mean, you're winning. Not really.
6 serves 9.
Are you doing it for CDC or just for the games or just for yourself? Or what? Is there any way of getting some footage of it? Or copy of some footage? No problem.
Seven serves 9.
Just a bit scrappy, this quarterfinal. It's not really smooth hitting. There's a lot of skips, a lot of unforced errors going on.
Yeah, and you have to wonder how much of that you can attribute to the, we've already 4 or 5 days in here, a lot of doubles. They've already played a match of singles, so are they feeling the fatigue a bit? A couple of little aches and pains here and there that cause them to miss those shots that they normally would be making earlier in the week.
Soft hands from James Landeryou guiding it into the front court. 8 serving 9.
8 serves 9. Second serve. Skip, side up.
Doesn't get any better than that, says James Landeryou. What's your take, Mitch?
It looked okay to me, so I was surprised he called the skip. Looked like it was an easy call to make, but I guess that's the reason I'm not the referee here and I'm in the commentating booth.
Well, Landeryou does wish you were the referee in this situation. We've had a couple calls go each way for each player, and it kind of evens out over a match anyway. You just got to regroup after a poor decision, or at least what you think is a poor decision, and just get on with the next point.
That's a good response there. He comes up and hits a nice kill return in that front left corner, so didn't let it get to him. And he's right back in the service box.
think that that expression says it all, really.
And that's, I mean, at this level, that's in theory an easy shot. And he's made a ton of those this week. So at crucial point in this first game, he's definitely frustrated with himself, but has to regroup once again and hit a good return here.
Soft hands. Castro had an opportunity, just kind of poked at it. Strange shot. He got punished.
And we talked about that earlier, that hands game up front, you can't give it to either of them. They're not going to make a lot of mistakes, and they're going to finish those rallies up front.
Again, a double fault.
And I've been watching James Landeryou play a lot of tournaments over the years, and I don't think I've ever seen him double drive serve, let alone double fall like that. He's a very consistent player, very smart player. For him to do that at this point in the first game is surprising, to say the least.
Well, it's clearly part of his game plan.
Second serve. Point.
Go, Jamie.
10, serves 8.
Castro was at the Pan Am Championships a couple months ago, representing Canada in the singles. Had a great tournament.
Second serve.
Well, let's see. I'm not sure what Castro was trying to indicate there.
8 serves 10.
I thought he almost did the gesture for a skip, but I don't know how he thought that.
Pardon? Yeah, it's 8 serving 10.
There was just a little miscommunication on the score. Castro said he heard 9-10.
And that's something you see from a lot of these. They'll have those little conversations with the referee just to get another 5-10 seconds rest. Break some momentum up.
And you get a skip.
So not sure if that was the effect of Castro, but something he'll do consistently is just he likes to break that momentum up.
Timeout on the court taken by Castro. That's his second and final timeout of this game. Looks a little winded. Actually, both of them do today. They just look a little tired. Landeryou not moving his feet very well. He walked out shaking his head.
They played a lot of tough racquetball, but they're definitely not having the same level of shot making, executing the shots they were earlier in the week here. So a little bit of frustration from both parties. We'll see who can stay mentally tough and grind it out and close out this first game and give themselves a bit of an advantage in this match.
Pedro serving. 10 serves 8.
We're back in. Diving, sprawling effort from Castro. Just going to need a little timeout.
And he loves this. I mean, we talked about Castro. He likes to slow it down. He likes to take as many towel timeouts as possible, get his breath back. It's definitely going to work in his favor more than it is Landeryou's.
8 serves 10.
Should also mention that serving takes a lot out of you as well. Drive serving.
It does, and that's why I'm even more surprised. We've already mentioned it before. Landeryou's going for 2 drive serves because it's a lot of energy you're expelling. So go for the first serve. If it's short, then hit a lob serve. Use a little less energy, but he's got such good lob serves. I'm surprised he's not leading on those a little bit more here.
Loose ceiling ball from Castro.
And Landeryou punishes him for it.
9 serves 10.
And another skip. All tied 10-10.
Serves 10.
Castro coached by Reno Langlier and James Landeryou coached by Lauren Prentice. Both of them present here watching on. Great hands from Castro to make Landeryou hit one more. Stayed in the point, but again, he was doing the chasing.
11 serves 10.
Good shot called. I don't know if you heard the what from the crowd, and you can see Landeryou gesticulating on the court. He's not happy.
10 serves 11. Wet ball, wet ball. 10 serves 11. Second serve. Check your receiver.
Okay, that's an interesting rule because in international rules, that would be a side out.
It is in Canada. After the first instance of it is his second serve, and then anytime after that, it would have been a side out.
So that was on second serve, but because it was the first time, it's just a warning?
Just that's correct. Yeah. So if it happens any more after that instance, it's going to be a side out for Castro.
Looks like Landeryou is switching his serve.
Short. Second serve. Out.
Better ceiling ball from Castro.
10 serves 11.
10 serving 11. 35 minutes in, we're still in game one. Well, I don't know what Landeryou wants. I look good from here.
I think he actually wants a wet ball on that serve.
So if you're playing and you see this wet ball on the serve, the implication is that you could get some wet balls during the match, during the rally, and so, you know, is this something where you could use that to your advantage? Say, I'm going to try and hit some stuff down that wall, knowing that the ball will speed up, change pace, move directions.
I mean, I think so. I mean, obviously, the Canadian rules, the wet ball only is called on a serve, but I mean, I played my match today. I've seen a few where some good passes, you know, balls that hit the wall, they just skid, and it's such an unpredictable bounce that definitely works the advantage of the player that's hitting that. Tough to read.
Second serve.
You didn't see it from your camera, but we saw the look from Castro as he looked back at us going, what was I doing in that situation? Wow. Oh my goodness, what a rally. The crowd liked it here. Terrific effort from both players in that situation.
Those are the hands we talked about. There's some quick exchanges up front, but I mean, Landeryou got enough chances that he's eventually going to poke it down an open lane and win the rally.
And look at them. Both of them are gassed. And it's game one.
Yeah, they're probably both thanking themselves for those towel timeouts to get their win back and rest up for the next rally.
Well, it highlights as well the importance of what you do off the court, not just what you do in a tournament. You've got to put in the work before the tournament so that you can be mentally and physically prepared to play long, tough matches day after day after day.
You do. I mean, you're already facing tough enough opponents. The last thing you want to do is be battling against yourself with, you know, legs are one of the first things to go. You don't want tired legs. You don't want to be winded. You have to be 100% every rally, every shot, or else you're already at a disadvantage before you even step on the court.
Well, the score is all square, 12-12. This game could go either way. Another skip from Landeryou.
12, service 12.
Not a good serve.
Loose serve and a bad time to hit it. Even we talked about the fatigue there, but I mean, you give an open player a setup like that, they're going to put that away more often than not.
That's better from Castro. Forehand pinch winner. Still 12-12. I get the feeling you've talked about the possibility of a tiebreaker in this match, but you get the feeling this first game is going to be really important for whoever wins it.
I think it's crucial. I mean, both players, look, I don't want to say fatigued, but you can see these long rallies are definitely wearing on them. So to get that first game, you're only one game away from taking the match versus a game and a tiebreaker to 11 is huge mentally, knowing that you have to expend that much more energy, hit that many more shots. It's tough to do. So to get this gives a huge advantage to whoever's able to take this first game and win this game to 3 as it is now.
And based on some data from the 2015 Pan Am Games, what we found was the person winning the first game had an 83% chance of winning the match. So you start to put that in perspective, it becomes an uphill battle to regroup after losing that first match.
That's the perfect term to use. It is an uphill battle. I mean, you now have to win almost double the amount of points, double the games that your opponent has if you drop that first game. So, I mean, 83% seems high. I'm surprised to hear that, but I mean, it's 2 out of 3 here. That first game is so crucial.
Another skip from the backhand side of Landeryou. We'll also recognize that data was from the Pan Am Games, and so you have a wide range of skill levels at that event from different countries, and so maybe that is part of that data. These two, though, played each other a lot, and so chances are it's not going to be necessarily such a high percentage as you suggested.
No, I mean, I wish I knew the stats offhand and who won the first game in these matches. I don't, but I'm sure even whoever wins this first game is still going to be a grind and a battle to finish off the match.
Well, I mean, I'm shocked that Smith didn't call that. He just let the play go. Castro had to pretty much run around Landeryou to even hit that ball.
Yeah, I imagine we would have seen a bit of explosion from Castro had Landeryou put that ball down and ended that rally on the right side.
13-12 replay. I almost feel in this situation that Landeryou is giving Castro this game. He's made so many unforced errors, hasn't taken any timeouts. But he saves one there. Castro, all he had to do was hit it down the line with 2 bounces. Went for a bit too much.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, the good response from Landeryou. We had a couple of the misses he had weren't hard shots either, the ones that he would normally make, and he's made throughout the rest of the week here. So to me, it looks like he's a bit fatigued, a little bit tired, and not quite able to get as low and swing through just as clean as he was before. But let's see if he can clean it up here and squeak out this first game.
Well, just a reminder that here in Canada you have to win by 2, so that creates a little different dynamic. There's a fist pump. A little bit of animation from Castro, snaps his wrist. Ball goes down the right side. 14-13, game point number 2. Ace serve to finish out game 1. Castro takes it 15-13. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with you for the resumption of game 2. Welcome back, everybody. Tim Baghurst, joined by special guest Adrian Webb, director of this tournament. Adrian, thanks so much for having all of us and all the work you and the local organizing committee have put into this. Give us a little bit of perspective about racquetball in Canada as it stands today.
Well, Tim, yeah, thanks for having me. Like racquetball at this point in Canada it's doing quite well. It's stable. I mean, it's not booming, but it's stable, and we got lots of different pockets in Canada that are very big for racquetball.
So when we talk about courts availability and things, is it just like you said, pockets in each province, or are there specific provinces that really have a thriving racquetball program and others where you don't really see very much?
Well, I think it's racquetball's quite popular right across the country. There's some clubs that have, we still have a large population of racquetball, but racquetball's more, the YMCA's and community centers, that type of thing is popular in Canada.
I hear this all the time, the importance of youth, right? How do we involve youth in racquetball? How do we get young people playing? If we can get young people playing, maybe they stay through and transition into adults and competitive adults. Also recreational adults. What is or being done in terms of youth development in racquetball in Canada, and how can others learn from Canada's successes and failures?
Well, I mean, as we all know, I mean, youth in any sport is good to help the sports get bigger and stronger, but youth in racquetball racquetball can be played at a young age right up until an old age. So it's a sport that is there for any type of age, but definitely youth is the way to go if we can, get more kids playing.
One of your responsibilities is obviously running. One of your responsibilities is running tournaments. Some people may be interested in running tournaments. What are the maybe challenges or things that you've learned from them, but also why you should run a tournament, why you should host a tournament, even if you only have 1 or 2 courts?
Well, I think it's like anything. I mean, you have to build the sport. So if clubs have a good program from youth, like you just mentioned, to leagues and programs, and then you have an inside tournament, a club tournament, and then an outside tournament, an open tournament to really showcase our top athletes, and that way I think you've got all of those things to help the clubs move along and get bigger.
Well, last question. We were here in 2015 for the Pan Am Games in Toronto, and it was quite a spectacle. The all-glass court, which was amazing. How is that being used in Canada, and kind of what's the future for that?
Well, at this point, the glass courts are in Regina. It's unfortunate they're in storage at the moment, and looks like they will be building a brand new facility, which is very exciting.
Absolutely.
And they're going to be in a new facility. It's just it's actually just hopefully going to start construction, and we'll be able to start using those courts again, because they are, as you mentioned, they are beautiful courts. They're all glass. I mean, and they're something of a sort of a spectacle.
Well, we look forward to seeing that actually happen, and of course seeing some of these players represent Canada in the World Championships. Just having been to the Junior World Championships, obviously, and your son representing Canada this year at the Pan Am Championships. You've seen some of the international flavor of racquetball. What's your take of racquetball as a whole? Because a lot of people will just look at their own country, and they'll have their opinions about their own country, and so, well, racquetball's dying, or racquetball's not growing. But really, that's not necessarily true in the competition. It seems to be improving every year.
Well, I agree. I mean, in some countries it may not be growing as much as in others, but as we know, in South America and Mexico, some of those clubs are just booming, and racquetball is just growing quicker than probably any sports. But definitely, I mean, I see, it's always exciting for me to go down and see the U.S. Open. I think there's 750 athletes, all divisions down there. I mean, it's a show in itself. I mean, it's like going to watch the Toronto Maple Leafs play and seeing a big event. And it's, you get if you do love the game of racquetball, you definitely you can't miss that event. So.
Well, Adrian, thanks so much for you and, like I said, the local organizing committee putting on this tournament. It's been a real pleasure to be here, and we hope that all of you watching are enjoying what we're offering with the streaming and just some of the action. And, of course, we'll go back into this match where Castro is facing Landeryou.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim.
Hang on.
We're back in the action. 2-0 in favor of Castro. Mitch Braley joining me on the mic again. Mitch, we talked about the importance of taking that first game, and looks like Castro's taken that momentum into the second.
He has, and I think works in his favor, knowing he's up a game. And I don't think he necessarily played super well at the end of that first game there, as much as.
Sorry to interrupt. Well, Cal Smith just got himself twisted sideways and eventually came up with the call, skip ball side out, and I think it's probably the right call, and he just had to change his mind. I think he got confused about who was hitting, and you could see the the players having a little discussion, and it adds all to the drama of this match.
You know, it's been a long week for the referees too. They've done a ton of matches, so it's exhausting. People don't realize to be reffing games constantly over the course of a day. So they're doing a fantastic job.
It really is difficult, speaking from experience. We have to, admire somebody willing to come and actually do this just to help the sport.
Absolutely, I think it's no secret that a lot of players don't like reffing. It's not their favorite thing to do. It's one aspect of terms that they have to deal with, though. Usually it's you lose a match, you have to ref, but you have guys that are coming strictly to do that, and these are tough players to referee. It's mentally exhausting reffing this high level of play every single day, so it's not an easy job, something I definitely don't want to be doing, so hats off to them. They've done a great job so far.
Well, we just had a little towel break for the ball, which was wet. We're back in. I think the ball might be broken. Castro, of course, wants to check it. It's not. He's disappointed as he walks backwards. The way you check a ball is by squeezing it, which is why you saw him grabbing it there. Point for Landeryou, 1-2. Wow, what a get from Castro. And again, unreal, but not that time. Mitch, amazing athleticism from the number 4 seed.
No, that's what makes him so fun to watch is, he might be tired and fatigued like we talked about the last few days here, but he's still diving to make, amazing gets. He's got some incredible shot making, but he doesn't want to give up. He knows he's got the advantage getting that first game here. He doesn't want to let Landeryou get any momentum, let him get up here in the second game and take control of the match at all.
Well, I know if you're Landeryou, you're probably irritated by the fact you now have a towel timeout because you don't want Castro recovering from that effort. He gave everything twice, hitting the deck. Okay, let's get to the next point. I know he's tired. Castro, of course, is taking his sweet time to make sure the court is clean.
And I'm sure that's part of Landeryou's game plan coming in is he's a smart player. He wants to hit shots that are going to make Castro dive all over the place, make him run a lot in hopes of tiring him out. So to do all that and play so smart and have that towel timeout is definitely going against him and works in Castro's favor.
Well, we hope you're enjoying this coverage of the Canadian National Championships. We had 3 days of doubles. This is day 2 of singles. The men's quarterfinals, 4 seed against 5 seed. And we have many more matches coming up today. Another wet ball, something we've seen a lot of over the last couple days especially. Hold on, we're going to have a conversation. Well, Landeryou's in the back with Castro, with the official. I'm not really sure what they're looking at. Maybe appeal system. They want an appeal system in place.
It looks like Landeryou, his argument coming out of the court was, he was saying on the serve, a wet ball only counts on the first surface of contact, which is not true. It's been discussed a number of times this week. So any surface on the serve, a wet ball can be called, but a lot of the players are still under the impression that it's only the first surface, the ball context. It was a rule change. I don't know when it was, but you still have guys that aren't aware that that is now the rule.
Well, thanks for that clarification. It helps a lot. And again, it's important that the players know these rules so that we don't get these delays in discussions. see Landeryou. I think he got a wet ball on the sidewall in that situation, and which caused the miss hit. And he's just, why does it happen on this and not on the serve, or it happens on the serve? And then it's just one of those nuances of this court today that you have to overcome.
It is frustrating, but you have to realize that you're both playing on the same court. You're on even ground, so you get a bad bounce of the wet ball. Hopefully, it's going to work in your favor that you're going to hit a shot that's also going to have the same effect, and realize that it's going to even out over the course of a match.
Beautiful soft hands from Castro. Castro caught looking left. Landeryou went right. Side out. Screen serve, second serve coming up. Castro appreciates his entire frame. Side out, 4 serving 2. Smart pass. James Landeryou on the right side. Well, you can see the expression of Landeryou on the left. He skipped so many balls today, and we just didn't see that yesterday.
Even to finish that first game, he skipped a lot of what most people consider, even for him, easy setups, and that's how he's started the second game here. So I think that fatigue setting in, that frustration, so there's a lot of factors that he has to make sure that he's not letting get to him, and starts executing those shots and stays focused, doesn't get down on himself.
Good shot that time. He needs some momentum. He seems a bit flat, a bit negative. You saw him leaning over on his knees, looking a little tired. Let's see if he can get on a roll here. Beautiful serve down the right side. Unreturned by Castro. Just what Landeryou needed. Front court rally won by Castro. Side out. So many skips, especially on that backhand side.
And that one there, I think he saw that Castro was in his way, but I don't think he was certain he was going to get the avoidable from referee Cal Smith, so he thought, I got a wide open court, I'm going to take this, and ends up trying to make it too perfect and makes the mistake.
Castro's been stuck at 5-3 for a while, so he takes a timeout. Just a reminder, we have many more matches coming up for you today. If we take a look at the schedule, at 3 p.m., or a little bit later, considering we're at 3 p.m. right now, the brother of James Landeryou, Tim Landeryou, will be facing Nicolas Bousquet. 4 p.m., we go to the women's semifinals, Richardson against Girard. Girard overcome a 3 seed yesterday in an 11-9 tiebreaker. 5 p.m., Saunders, the number 1 seed, will be facing Morissette. And 6 p.m., Iwasa men's singles against Connell. Finally, we wind out the day with a 7 p.m. match between Samuel Murray and Curtis Cullen. Should be a great day of action, Mitch.
No, that's the exciting thing about these quarterfinals. You still have a lot of matches being played, but they're all, have the potential and usually do end up being very close. It's a high level of racquetball. These are players that have played each other usually lost in the past, but they all come back with different game plans every event, every year. So it's going to be really interesting, and this is probably one of the most exciting days because you have so many matches of great racquetball.
So we're back in. 5 serving 3. Castro goes for another shirt.
Probably a good idea, but it's every dive he does out there ends up in a towel timeout, which he does enjoy, but at the same time you can't consistently keep diving and getting that sweat all over the court, making it wet, and it just takes away too much from the match.
Castro struggled with that serve to the right. He's hit an ace. He did get one, but he's really struggled to get it right down the line. It's kicking into the middle. We'll see if he changes that in the coming points. But it's Landeryou who comes out the hotter after that timeout, earns a side out, earns a point for serving 5. 1 hour, 3 minutes into this match. We're at 4 serving 5 game 2.
Just like we thought it would be. A very close one. I mean, that first game was super tight, doesn't get much closer, and here we are neck and neck, second game. So it's exactly what we expected and wanted to see.
Castro wanted to skip. A grimace. It sounded good.
5 serves 5.
Just like that, 3 points in a row for Landeryou.
Luckily, he was a little bit down and out of this, but he's responded really well. Now he's up in the lead.
Carry call?
Looks like it, yeah. And normally it's tough as a referee to make that call, but I think Landeryou called on himself, which is a great display of sportsmanship.
Absolutely. We had a controversial carry call a couple days ago in a very tight match, and carry is one of those very debatable rules.
It is. I think there's a lot of players that would like to see that rule just completely eliminated from it. I mean, you're still hitting it with your racket. It's so tough to call. It doesn't happen very often, so just play the rally out and don't call it.
We all know how mental sports can be, and One of the things that I'm not seeing from either of these two players is real obvious energy.
Oh no, I think both of them are. When we talked about fatigue quite a bit throughout this match, I don't want to say they're both tired, but there's definitely a bit of wear there, and they're trying to play reserve, not expend too much energy between points. You know, hit a good serve and get the easy return. But they don't want to be diving around and having long rallies either, so they're trying to finish it as quickly as possible.
Great get, Castro. This is a long rally. Landeryou crunches one down. You can see a little bit of emotion now as he wins that for an 8-5 lead.
Bit of a scrappy point. I mean, there was a lot of loose shots, but good of him to finally bear down, finish it off, and pad that lead a little bit.
Well, it's Landeryou who takes the timeout. He looks a little fatigued as he walks out. He's got a minute to regroup. Mitch, put yourself in the position of either of those two players. We talked about the energy and enthusiasm. It's not necessarily, you know, diving around the court, but more trying to fake your opponent into believing that you have energy and that you're ready to go. And so it's why you see players, especially in tennis, you know, they'll be bouncing at the baseline, getting ready to reserve, even though they may be sorely tired. And it's just that perception of, hey, by the way, I'm not done. I'm still fighting. I'm still ready to go. Even if you think I'm tired, I'm not. When in actual fact, you may be inside going, "Oh my gosh, I'm exhausted."
And it is just a much mental thing. I mean, if you look at an opponent and see that they're tired and see that they're struggling physically, it helps you relax mentally a little bit, and you're a little bit looser, and you start just to make your shots, execute them, knowing your opponent's tired. They may not be as quick or responsive as they normally are. So I believe it was Landeryou that actually took this timeout, even though he's made a couple of shots. He's up here now, so I think that is the sign of fatigue that you don't necessarily want to give to Castro here. But at the same time, if you're fatigued and tired, know you can't execute or play the way you're capable of, you have to take it and hope that the mental edge that you might have from it is overcome by quality play that you're going to have from having that 1 minute rest.
Well, it's interesting that it was Castro who took the first time out, and he was up 5-3 serving. And what do we have but 5 points in a row for Landeryou after the Castro timeout? So that's pretty unusual. We'll see if Castro gets a side out from Landeryou's timeout. Not that time.
Good timeout. It's exactly what you want.
Castro says, "I wanted a screen." Our official, Cal Smith, shrugs his shoulders, shakes his head. It's a point for Landeryou, edging closer to a tiebreaker.
I'm surprised he didn't come out to argue that call, just get a little bit of a timeout with the discussion with the ref.
Over to my right, Tim Landeryou and Bousquet are warming up on court F. So perhaps they just want to get on with their match rather than wait for the show court. We'll try and keep you updated on those scores.
I've seen that before. They too, just if there's an empty court, they like to warm up and just get on the court. They're eager to go here, and that way, as soon as this match finishes, they can just hop right on and get going right away.
Okay, so we just had another check for receiver. We talked about that in the first game. So that should be a side out based on your interpretation of the rules.
As far as I know, that should have been a side out. It might be from game to game, perhaps it resets, but I know we already had that call against Castro, so I was 100% that should be a side out.
Castro tries to slide one right, a little short. Good pick breakup from Castro. Landeryou goes left, Castro goes right.
10, serve 6.
And you can see he's visibly upset with the wall.
Probably attributing something to a wet ball there, but I think he's just not even going to get shots and wants to blame something that isn't himself.
6, serves 10.
We talked about these players looking a little more fatigued than they have all week. And a lot of it isn't just, you know, the grind of a one match a day, which is what it is here. There's also other issues such as how much sleep did you get? What did you eat for breakfast? When did you eat lunch or did you not eat lunch? All of these things have a play or role in this match.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that, especially as you get to these high levels, the tournament isn't just about that, 1 hour or 2 hours you're on the court. It's a 24/7 process where you're sleeping well in the same cycle. You're getting a good breakfast, eating with enough time before the match, eating healthy, nutritious, staying hydrated, stretching. So there's a lot that goes into, this hour, 2 hour moment where we're on the court to perform at your best.
Absolutely. Landeryou is 5 points away from a tiebreaker. A reminder that Castro won the first 15-13. 10 serving 7.
Second serve. Point. Serve 7.
If you're interested in the draw, we posted it in the chat box for you. This is a quarterfinal at the Canadian National Championships. Winner advances to the medal rounds.
Second serve.
Now, Mitch, if I'm not mistaken, in the national championships, you play through the brackets to end up with a specific number of where you finished in the tournament. So the loser of this would play to determine, where do they fit in the 5 through 8 category. Is that right?
That is correct. So yeah, anyone that loses these quarterfinal matches will drop down and then play all for those 5 through 8 spots. Obviously, the winners going into the 1 through 4.
Such a strange match. We haven't had one like this. It's just, they just both seem a little flat, and you just want somebody to just be a little bit more emotional and say, you know what, I'm going to go get this. I'm going to go get my semifinal, rather than hopefully that my opponent will lose it for me.
Yeah, and I honestly think we can attribute most of this to fatigue. We can see them out there. They're long rallies. Their hands are on their knees. They look visibly tired. They're not very expressive. They're just hitting a good serve and hoping to just hit a good shot off of that. If they don't, then almost not write the rally off, but they don't want to make some tough gets. Really work tough, dig in.
Point. 12, serves 8.
Great get, James Landeryou. Wow. Oh, but he sets up Castro, just pushes it to the front wall and says, here, hit another.
Just, a couple of loose, easy pokes, and even if, playing a tired opponent. I mean, at this level, you can't give them a setup in the center of the court or the service box. They're going to put it away. And that's exactly what happened.
Very humid in this court. 75 minutes in. There's a soft touch from Castro, earns a point. Still in the second game, it's 9-12. Both players have a timeout remaining. Little flick of the wrist. Nice control by Castro in the front court.
9 serves 12. One timeout.
Not sure what that exchange was about.
And Castro was asking if he had a timeout, and we all thought he would take it, but
No wet balls called. Look at look at Castro. If you think he's annoyed right now, you'd be absolutely accurate.
Now. 12 serves 9.
Short serve called.
Second serve.
That's a good shot. That's a little fist pump from Castro. Let's see if that gets him moving. Again, not exactly racing to pick up the ball there.
no, he's going to take that full 10 seconds and he'll have it a timeout and rest up and hopefully make a push here to squeeze out the second game and avoid having to play a tiebreaker.
Well, we'll take a little timeout ourselves. We'll let the feed go, and we'll be back with you in just a minute.
Fatal serving.
9 serves 12 is the score. I'm joined by Mitch Braley, competitor in this event. Probably prefer to be on the court, but we won't. We won't talk about that, Mitch. We do have fun in here. We hope you enjoy it. There's a little fist pump from Castro as he rips a winner. Let's see if that gives him some momentum.
10 serves 12.
Castro's one of those Well, the term is but a sleeper player. I mean, he'll just play, 5, 6 loose points where he looks down and out, and all of a sudden he'll just wake up like he has after this timeout, start crushing drive serve, hit some unbelievable shots, and have this new focus, new invigoration to close this out here.
There, he was just a half step slow. Thought he was going to make that. But a couple of points after that timeout, 12-11. Again, another very tight second game.
Just what we expected from these two, 4 and 5.
Deep sigh from Landeryou in the backcourt.
11 serves 12.
Castro not happy. Mitch, what's your take if you're refereeing that?
I think that's the right call 100% of the time. That's unavoidable. He gave him the down line maybe, but not a straight in. He's right in his way, hit the ball.
But I jumped, he said.
I still don't think he gave him the swing. He jumped, but it wasn't very high. It was a little bit late.
I like how Castro waited on that, let the ball come down.
11 serves 12.
Another side out, 11-12. You kind of feel this is a pivotal moment for both players.
Point.
I like that serve, jam serve, forcing Landeryou to move his feet. You know he's tired. He left it up.
And I don't think he's hit that serve yet this entire match, so smart time to throw it in, change it up, and obviously won the point, got the weak return, so worked great.
What did Castro want? Let's. So I stopped, said Castro, and I put up my hand, and Cal Smith said, I didn't see you put up your hand. Castro said, you didn't see me put up my hand? And away we go, 13-12.
I saw his hand too. I don't know what he was asking for. It's a short serve or a wet ball, but see, Cal Smith made his call, and we're sticking with that.
I think he was trying to hold up because the ball was a jam serve. It came to the middle, and Landeryou was in the middle. Scrappy rally. No one really wanting to go for the kill shot. Don't make a mistake at this point.
No, and Castro puts his hand up that time, but obviously wins the rally and doesn't argue for the replay.
All square, 13-13. This is where we were in game one. Replay is the decision of our official. Castro 2 points away from this match and a place in the semifinals. Beautiful hands from Castro. Brings up match point number one. Landeryou has a timeout. Elects not to take it. Here we go. You can see Castro, he's playing a little bit.
I think I've seen that in almost every one of his matches. He will go for that crack case on every match point, and regardless of how short it is, he'll fist pump, try and sway the official.
And a huge skip from Landeryou on, and you can see him wiping that wall. He wanted a wet wall. He didn't get it. Castro takes it in two very, very close games after an hour and 30 minutes, 15-13, 15-13. Mitch, final thoughts before we take a break?
Well, it wasn't a tiebreaker, but 15-13, 15-13 doesn't get any closer than that. So, props to Castro. He played, it wasn't the most high-energy racquetball, but he made the shots he needed to. He took advantage of an obviously fatigued James Landeryou and ultimately sneaks away with this match and closes it out. So, great match from Castro. He played well when he needed to.
Well, we're going to take a little break. We'll just show you the schedule coming up. Not sure if Landeryou Bousquet will be back on. Landeryou Bousquet have started on court F. It sounds like we're going to get that match moved over to court E, so we'll leave the stream running. We'll take a quick break ourselves and be back with you in just a few minutes.